You could get rolled over. You could get smashed hard on the bottom. It's not going to be pretty. We're successfully across the bar for the first time this season.
All for the huge paycheck and entertaining viewers, the Wicked Tuna teams put it all on the line, as every voyage to the sea might be their last. From shipwreck collisions to life-threatening visits from the elements, what are the most dangerous moments ever captured on Wicked Tuna? Join us on this thrilling and special episode as we reveal some of the deadliest moments on Wicked Tuna. The terror at sea. As the crew of the boat observed another vessel approaching at high speed, they voiced their concern, noting the reckless nature of such behavior, especially considering the reliance on electronic equipment aboard both boats. They started thinking of the dangers that could occur if there was any collision, concluding that it could be fatal, including the high risk of fire due to the fragile nature of the types of equipment.
But the biggest concern is lightning. And got that big pole up there, great conductor of electricity. It's pretty scary.
Their conversation turned to past encounters with lightning storms, fires on ships, and even the unsettling experience of fishing near a battlefield where bombs detonated nearby, highlighting the inherent dangers faced by the fleet while at sea. Later, the crew recalled a tense moment when they received a distress call about a sinking boat miles from shore. They sprang into action with a sense of urgency, gathering up to locate and assist the imperiled vessel. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on them, as they were worried about the uncertainty and potential loss of life, underscoring the dangerous nature of their profession. The crew of the Wicked Tuna fleet breathed a sigh of relief, realizing the situation could have been much worse. They found themselves a couple of miles offshore, discovering a boat in distress, taking on the water without stopping it. Despite completing the rescue and the Coast Guard arriving, they could only take out what equipment they could as the ship slowly sank. Meanwhile, the crew of the hard merchandise and hot tuna faced challenging times when caught in a terrifying thunderstorm. They observed the storm approaching, feeling the roughness in the air and the change in the waves. As experienced fishermen, they knew the importance of understanding weather patterns, particularly dangerous winds and tides. However, their primary concern was lightning, especially with the tall poles on their boats acting as lightning rods. The crew members expressed their concern about the situation, acknowledging the danger they were facing. They emphasized the importance of paying close attention to their surroundings, especially since they were in the midst of a severe storm. Despite their efforts to avoid touching the steering wheel, they couldn't shake off the fear of a possible lightning strike that could leave them stranded at sea with dead electronics. They recalled the old saying about lightning striking the highest moving object, heightening their anxiety. Meanwhile, aboard the pinwheel, the crew remained determined to continue fishing despite the challenging conditions. They acknowledged the risk, but were driven by the need to make a catch to cover their expenses. Suddenly, they witnessed an explosion nearby, making them think about the dangerous outcome if they had been closer to the blast. Despite the chaos, they made sure to calm themselves down amidst the uncertainty of the situation. Once again, the pinwheel crew found themselves in a strange situation where they had to battle a powerful tuna while on the boat. Despite the urgency of their mission, their attention was drawn to the potential value of the catch, which they estimated to be a significant 500 pounder that could fetch a hefty price per pound, which totals $10,000. However, their focus quickly shifted when they noticed the weird odor of burning electrical components. They immediately signaled to one another the possible destruction by fire on board. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, TJ sprang into action, leading the crew in a serious search for the source of the smell. Despite their initial struggle to locate the problem, TJ's persistence paid off when he identified a melted junction box connected to the generator, which was a result of a loose connection. The fear for them was that if they had not intervened in time, the consequences could have been dire, as fires on boats can escalate rapidly, leaving them stranded far from shore with no means of escape. The crew immediately felt relief as they realized they had narrowly avoided disaster before it could escalate further. Meanwhile, storms continued to pose significant threats to the fishermen's safety, with the Tuna and Miss Sambuca crews preparing to face heavy rain and strong winds. Aware of the risk posed by high winds, they understood the potential for electronic equipment failure and the risk of injury to crew members. While Miss Sambuca remained in a relatively safe location, Tuna had gone too far into the threatening conditions, prompting concerns about their safety. With fog obstructing their view, their surroundings, and the lingering threat of collisions with other vessels, the crew's anxiety heightened. Captain Marciano struggled with the great pressure of navigating through the storm, struggling to maneuver the boat and avoid potential damage. The crew's fear was becoming high as they braced themselves for the impending danger, aware of the unpredictable and forthcoming disaster that could be the consequence of their circumstances. Approaching the bridge, the hard merchandise crew faced a critical decision as they observed the water level dropping strangely, which indicated a shallow passage ahead. With their vessel being one of the slowest in the fleet, concerns piled up among the crew members who anxiously considered the risks. As they moved closer to the bridge, the crew's worries grew. Despite the urging of others to reconsider, Maru, unable to turn back, made the bold choice to proceed, fully aware of the dangers ahead. As they approached the sandbar, the crew encountered strong waves, realizing the likely disaster if they were to be hit by one of the powerful surges. Despite the lucrative nature of their profession, the crew acknowledged the ever-present risks associated with navigating the dangerous waters, especially when faced with unpredictable weather conditions. With each member of the crew reviewing their plans and bracing themselves for the challenge ahead, they forged ahead, determined to overcome the formidable obstacle of the sandbar. After successfully crossing the bar for the first time that season, the crew celebrated their achievement with a sense of relief and anticipation for the challenges yet to come. Afar from shore, a boat beckons for help. The boat is drowning. The captain of Fat Tuna quickly gets to reach out to TJ, who affirms that he is already on his way to the bat. On his way, due to the heightened fear, TJ prays for all fishermen to be kept safe. Other boats at sea are worried and tell everyone to be careful. They also mention fishing nearby and not going too far and say to watch out. While the hard merchandise crew was at it again, busy fishing, they got caught up in another thrilling moment. Something that looked like a shark. What could it be? Making important life decisions in anxious moments. These fishermen were out on a sunny day hoping for a relaxing time fishing, but things didn't go as planned. One team caught a shark instead of a tuna they were after. Another fisherman decided to let go of a big tuna to avoid trouble. The crew of the hard merchandise used some new ideas to help them catch more fish, putting them ahead in the game. They were excited to share their experiences with Wicked Tuna. They were fishing near Chadam and hoping to catch something. They noticed whales, which usually meant tuna, were nearby. They set up their baits and waited, listening for any signs of fish. Captain Bob Cook and his crew were also on the lookout for a big tuna. They had a special spot they liked to fish in and teamed up with another crew, Hot Tuna, led by Captain Tim. They set their baits and waited, hoping for a bite. Finally, they felt a tug on the line and excitement filled the air. They thought they had caught a tuna, but it turned out to be a shark. Despite the disappointment, they remained hopeful for more bites. Meanwhile, the hard merchandise crew was determined to catch a tuna. They used innovative techniques and stayed positive despite the challenges of fishing. They were eager to defend their title as top fishermen. As they continued fishing, they faced more challenges, including navigating through tangled lines from other boats, but they remained focused on their goal, hoping for a big catch to end the day on a high note. The crew of Hot Tuna had been waiting patiently for a bite, and finally, they felt a tug on their line, signaling a potential catch. With eager anticipation, they began reeling in their prize, hoping for a sizable tuna. However, as they pulled, they noticed the resistance was different, not quite like the usual fight of a tuna. Despite their initial excitement, their hopes were dashed when they realized they had hooked a shark instead. Meanwhile, over on Fat Tuna, another crew was also experiencing a similar moment of suspense. As they reeled in their line, the tension on the deck grew palpable. There was a collective sense of anticipation mixed with apprehension as they wondered what awaited them at the end of the line. The crew members exchanged hopeful glances, silently urging the fish to be the sought-after tuna. However, their hopes were dashed when they too discovered that they had caught a shark. The disappointment was evident as both crews processed the unexpected turn of events. Despite their disappointment, they acknowledged that such occurrences were not uncommon in the unpredictable world of fishing. Reflecting on the costs and pressures of their fishing expedition, they resolved to press on, determined to make the most of their time at sea. With a renewed sense of determination, they continued their pursuit of the elusive tuna, fueled by the desire to secure a valuable catch and improve their standing on the leaderboard. Each member of the crew played their part, working together seamlessly to navigate the challenges of the ocean and reel in their next potential prize. The excitement was palpable on the boat as they struggled to reel in their catch. The fish was putting up a fierce fight, darting back and forth, making it difficult to control. Despite their efforts, the fish seemed determined to evade capture, pulling away with each tug on the line. Realizing they needed to switch tactics, they decided to take turns reeling in the fish, hoping to wear it out and bring it closer to the surface. With each rotation, the fish continued to resist, stubbornly swimming in different directions, testing the endurance of the fishermen. As the battle wore on, they could feel the weight of the fish on the line, indicating it was a sizable catch. Their determination grew as they worked together to overcome the fish's resistance, inching closer to victory with each tug. Finally, after a grueling struggle, they managed to bring the fish to the surface, revealing a massive tuna hooked by its tail. Despite the unconventional hook placement, they celebrated their hard-earned catch, relieved and ecstatic at their success. Their jubilant shouts echoed into the night as they prepared to head home, grateful for their stroke of luck and the valuable prize they had secured. It was a testament to their perseverance and teamwork, proving that sometimes fortune favors the bold in the unpredictable world of fishing. The situation on the boat became tense as they realized their fish was tangled with another boat's anchor line. They knew they had to act quickly to avoid losing their catch or causing any damage to the other boat's equipment. With the fish thrashing around, they carefully maneuvered the boat to avoid further entanglement, all while keeping a close eye on the surrounding boats. Fishing for tuna in the open sea was already challenging, but with multiple boats in the area and the darkness of night adding to the complexity, the situation became even more daunting. However, the crew of the Pinwheel remained undeterred, with their captain leading the charge to resolve the issue. Despite the urgency of the situation, they remained courteous and appreciative of the other fishermen's cooperation. They worked quickly and efficiently to free their fish from the tangled anchor line, prioritizing the well-being of both their catch and their fellow fishermen. In the end, they were relieved to have successfully untangled the fish and resumed their pursuit. They understood the importance of maintaining good karma on the water, even in challenging circumstances, and were willing to sacrifice their catch if it meant avoiding any negative repercussions. With their fish finally secured, they continued their journey, grateful for the opportunity to fish another day. Tyler faced a challenging situation with many boats around, causing their anchor lines to tangle up with his. Despite his efforts, he realized he couldn't navigate through the mess of lines. Making a difficult decision, Tyler, the captain of the Pinwheel, chose to cut the line on his catch to avoid causing further problems. It was a noble gesture, reflecting his belief in maintaining good karma on the water. Reflecting on their fishing journey, the crew of the Pinwheel remained positive, despite not always catching the biggest fish. They believed in the unpredictability of fishing, understanding that sometimes you can't control the size of the fish you catch. They embraced the journey, knowing that the big catch would come eventually. On another boat, the Hard Merchandise, the crew started their fishing expedition with positivity and teamwork. They utilized stand-up rods, a technique they found success with in the past, to give them more control during the fight with the tuna. Each member of the team played their part for elevating their craft and setting them apart from other fishing teams. They remained hopeful for a successful trip, ready to face whatever challenges the ocean threw their way. Using lighter fishing gear has been successful for the crew of the Hard Merchandise so far. They're pleased that their plan is working out well, emphasizing that you don't always have to travel far to catch tuna. Sometimes success can be found in familiar waters. They express hope that their fellow crew member, while they were resting, has hooked a tuna, though they're unsure of its size yet. Despite the challenge of fishing with lighter gear, they appreciate the increased control it provides during the fight with the tuna. They find it exciting to be able to battle a bluefin tuna on the East Coast in this way. As the captain takes a nap, the rest of the team remains vigilant, and their efforts pay off when they receive a call that a fish has taken the bait. With skillful teamwork, they successfully reel in a big catch, feeling elated at their accomplishment. They're especially pleased with how much easier it was to bring in the fish using their chosen method, reaffirming their confidence in their approach. Apparently, the hard merchandise were not the only ones that experienced that. For the crew of Pinwheel, time was running out in the season and they were feeling the pressure. With only 2 fish caught so far, they were worried about not making enough money. One guy was especially anxious because he had to support his daughter. The hazards in the sea that can't be ignored. The crew of Pinwheel spotted a big tuna and they were pumped. But it didn't stop there. More bad luck followed. They lost more fish and it was really frustrating. But they didn't quit. They kept trying, even though it seemed like the fish were playing games with them. However, they didn't lose hope. Despite all the challenges, they pushed on, hoping for that one big catch to turn things around. It was tough, but they never gave up. And in the end, they managed to catch a big fish that made all the hard work worth it. Going back with the crew, the tuna decided to tease them before slipping away with part of their gear and bait. They were hoping for a good catch to make some money, but things weren't going well. They hadn't been paid for the fish they caught earlier in the season, and tensions were rising. One crew member was especially frustrated with Captain Paul. He felt like Paul wasn't taking their concerns about money seriously. He was worried about feeding his daughter and didn't like the way Paul was handling things. Meanwhile, another boat, Risky Business, faced some scary moments. They were hit by 2 huge waves that nearly tore their boat apart. It was a reminder of how dangerous fishing can be, and the crew was on edge about safety. TJ, one of the crew members, emphasized the importance of making smart choices and staying safe. He didn't want anyone to get hurt, and he was cautious about the risks they faced. Despite the challenges and worries, the crews were determined to keep fishing. They knew they needed to catch tuna to get paid, so they braved the dangers of the sea in search of their next big catch. TJ is a trusted member of the crew, and they have full faith in him, even in the face of scary situations. They're all aware of the risks involved in fishing, especially when news of dangerous waves spreads. The captain decides not to take any chances with their safety, choosing to wait until conditions improve. He explains that the bar, where the ocean meets the sound, can be risky due to sudden changes in water depth and treacherous waves. TJ is worried about the potential damage to the boat and crew, but they all trust the captain's judgment. Meanwhile, back on another boat, there's frustration and disbelief as fishing gear keeps getting destroyed. They've lost multiple catches due to equipment failures, and tensions are high among the crew. It's a tough day for them, and they're questioning what's causing all the problems. Despite the challenges, they know they have to keep pushing through the Wicked Tuna season. But with each setback, their frustration grows, and they wonder if they'll ever catch a break. The crew faces a tricky situation when the boat's rope gets tangled in the propeller or rudder. Without being able to untangle it, the boat can't move properly, so someone has to jump in the water to fix it. Drake steps up to the challenge, showing his loyalty to the team. But there's a catch. Literally, the area they're in is known for having lots of sharks. Drake admits to feeling a mix of excitement and fear about jumping in. The crew jokes around to lighten the mood, but they know the risks involved. Diving under a boat is no joke. It's dangerous, with sharp equipment and the boat rocking in the waves. But Drake manages to get the job done without any major mishaps, much to everyone's relief. As Drake finishes up, the crew expresses their gratitude for his bravery. They're hopeful that their teamwork will lead to success this season, despite the challenges they've faced. The crew's spirits lift as Drake manages to fix the boat, allowing them to get back to fishing. They joke around, but underneath, they're hoping for a successful catch to boost their morale and paychecks. They spot a tuna and get excited, hoping it's the big catch they've been waiting for. But as they reel it in, they face challenges. The tuna puts up a tough fight, and they struggle to keep it on the line. They're nervous because they've been losing a lot of fish lately, and they really need this one. Just when they think they've got it, disaster strikes. The line breaks, and they lose the fish. It's a huge disappointment, especially because it would have been a significant catch for them. But as they come to realize this particular tuna just isn't ready to be caught, despite their efforts, it slips away, leaving them frustrated but determined to keep trying. The crew gets excited as they hook a big fish, hoping it's worth a hefty $5,000. It's a tough battle to reel it in, but they stay focused and eventually succeed. Landing the fish feels like a victory, especially since they've been struggling lately. But just when they think things are turning around, disaster strikes again. The fish slip off the line, leaving them feeling disappointed. They know that catching this fish could have boosted their standings in the competition, so losing it is a blow. Despite their setback, they keep fishing, hoping for another chance to land a big catch. It's a reminder of the ups and downs of tuna fishing. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. But no matter what, the crew remains determined to keep trying and tell their tale to their buddies and crewmates. Just like the tales told by other fishermen on their adventures, the crew of Hot Tuna has a really disturbing tale to tell, which is about the Bonner Bridge. What exactly happened? The scary Bonner Bridge. The captain is worried about safely navigating the boat through a narrow bridge, which is a common concern among fishermen in the area.
This place is just an absolute hellhole.
Despite being on the water for 16 days, they've only caught one fish, making them desperate for a successful catch. Additionally, the boat's 6-foot keel makes navigating through the narrow span even more challenging, as strong cross currents could push them into the concrete structure. The captain reflects on previous incidents where other boats with flat bottoms have collided with the bridge, highlighting the risks involved in navigating this area. The captain is deeply anxious about navigating the boat through the narrow bridge. The thought of damaging the boat or crashing into the bridge fills him with dread. He can see that the driver, TJ, is also nervous, and he's worried about the consequences of any mistake. Despite their fear, they know they have to push through without hesitation. However, TJ's nerves seem to be affecting his driving, causing the captain to question his decision. Ultimately, the captain decides to trust his instincts and opts to reverse the tide and try again when he feels more confident. After a tense moment, they successfully navigate through the bridge, but the experience leaves them shaken. The captain hopes for a successful catch to calm his nerves after such a nerve-wracking ordeal. Fishermen suspect there might be black market activities when the fishing quota is reached. They express frustration about not receiving their paychecks despite being out at sea every day. The Fat Tuna crew shows how important it is to follow fishing rules. The harsh realities of fishing. Fishermen believe it's important to care about aquatic animals. The pressure to catch fish can lead to extreme measures. In some places, like other parts of the world, they still catch bluefin tuna using big boats and machines. However, in successful fisheries management, there are rules to follow, like size standards and quotas to protect the fish population. In the United States, they take these rules seriously. Other countries might start catching bluefin tuna when they're too small, which can harm the fish population. It's important to wait until they've grown and reproduced enough. Fishermen wonder how the United States knows if all fishermen are off the ocean, given its vastness. They question their boss's actions and emphasize the importance of earning money to support their families. The person feels the pressure to catch fish and make money, especially since they are far from home. They criticize the boat managers for not paying the workers and consider drastic measures to ensure they get paid. The Fat Tuna crew have been waiting a long time to catch fish and are excited to start the season strong. However, they've had no luck so far, and their fuel is running out fast. Despite the odds, they're determined to make a catch today. When they finally hook a fish, it's a big one, and they're hopeful it will make up for their previous dry spell. The fish puts up a tough fight, but they're determined to reel it in. They can feel the weight of the fish on the line and the strength of its tail as it thrashes around. Despite the challenges, they're excited about the prospect of finally making a catch. They know it's risky, but they're willing to do whatever it takes to bring in the fish and earn their paycheck. They're using an older black and white plotter from their previous boat to locate fish. Despite scanning the area, they've only spotted a few fish, which isn't promising for their fishing trip. They acknowledge the challenge of catching up when falling behind early in the trip. Determined to make a breakthrough, they decide to take a risk by deploying a bait known to attract larger, more desirable fish, even though it's a gamble. As they wait for a bite, the tension mounts, and finally, they get a bite. Excitedly, they spring into action, maneuvering the boat to reel in the catch. There's anticipation as they bring the fish closer, but it's not the monster catch they had hoped for. Despite its size, they decide to keep it, recognizing that every catch counts. However, there's a sense of disappointment among some of the crew members, indicating that they were hoping for a larger fish. Despite their efforts, it seems they haven't yet hit the jackpot they were aiming for. The crew members refrain from arguing with their boss, feeling sorry for the fish caught in their pursuit. They celebrate their first catch of the trip, even though it's not as large as they had hoped. However, their joy is overshadowed by laughter from another boat, highlighting the priority placed on making money over animal safety. Suddenly, the mood shifts as the Coast Guard is called in. The crew realizes the seriousness of the situation. Hoping for the other boat's downfall, they recount how the conflict escalated, with one crew member throwing a weight at them, leading to retaliation by cutting one of their tuna lines. They condemn the unnecessary escalation and label the person who called the Coast Guard a crybaby and a snitch. The incident serves as a reminder of the consequences of unlawful actions.